Alright people, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. That way you'll know when I upload the next video and you'll be supporting my channel. Follow me on Twitter. Every time I upload a new video, I'll be tweeting. Horus and gents, Suji reaction. This is the Emperor of Man 2, Heresy and the Imperium, Warhammer 40,000 lore, by the channel Lutin09. I guess what, third or fourth part, I don't remember. But yeah, we're gonna pick up where we left off, I guess. This Emperor of Man series has been really good. Did the one long time, I guess it's been long enough time now. I'm doing second. All of them are like 1.5 hours, 2 hours long, which is fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's the level of lore the one just Imperium would have. This is ridiculous. Not to mention there are many other Xenos races too. I think after this second video finishes, I'm gonna react to some other race. Then I'll go back to the Emperor of Man 3 or whatever. So yeah, let's watch this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction I did. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast or playlists like Warhammer 40k, John Tron, Internet Historian, and yeah, let's watch this one.
Robert Guilliman and the Ultramarines received reinforcements from their vast legion to form one of the greatest forces in the Imperium now left standing, and they would repel the shattered wordbearers and set course for Terra after receiving their communication from Malcador. However, Guilliman realised all too well they would likely arrive too late to make a significant difference, as had been Horus's original intention on posting them as far from Earth as was possible without it raising suspicion. Now the race was really on, as nearly all the Space Marine legions, Loyalist and Traitor alike headed for Holy Terror to determine the final battle for supremacy of the galaxy. Despite all their best efforts, only the White Scars, Blood Angels and Imperial Fists were able to reach Terra before the Traitor legions arrived. The Loyalists were also supported with 3 Mechanicus Titan legions and millions of Imperial Guard soldiers. Their objective was less to defeat the traitors. That task was not in anybody's mind. Their sole task was simple and twofold. They must protect the Emperor at all costs, and they must survive long enough for reinforcements from the remaining Loyalist legions who were still en route to Terra.
Battle of Terra. So I guess the forces from the Imperium at the time were not that many. The reinforcement on the way, while the chaos is, Primarchs were in mass coming there to invade. I guess all their job was to protect the Emperor at any cost. That's fucking sick.
The Battle of Terra began as expected, with mass orbital bombardments from both the surface to orbit and vice versa. Luna, the Imperial Naval Station, also launched massive attacks with its huge orbital defense system, which sustained the traitors with heavy losses, but sadly not heavy enough to make any significant impact. Horus would destroy first the lunar defences and then the ground defense systems on Earth. It was now open to attack. The first drop pods landed on Terra, carrying the corrupted hellish Chaos Marines who battled the Loyalists for every step of ground they took. In securing the docking port's planet side, the traitors were able to reinforce with thousands more Marines along with the corrupted Dark Mechanicum Titans. Cultists also practiced their invocations, which brought demons large and small out from the warp and into reality, unleashing their horrors on the Loyalists, both Astartes and Imperial Guard alike.
Damn.
The forces of chaos assaulted the Imperial Palace relentlessly, some being led on by the Primarch, now turned demon Prince Angron of the World Eaters. But each time they attacked, the Blood Angels led by their Primarch Sanguinius would repel them. The White Scars Legion attempted to draw the Dark Forces away from the palace, but each time would be forced into submission, retreating back into the relative shelter of the palaces. Horus, frustrated at this point, and all too aware he was running out of time, ordered one of the Titan legions to demolish entire sections of the Imperial Wall. Despite grievous losses, the Titans, led by the infamous Imperator-class battle titan Disarray, smashed breaches in the Imperial Palace's defences, which the traitors then flooded through. Jakati Khan, Primarch of the White Scars, decided at this time on a change in tactic. Instead of trying to repel the seemingly endless forces of Chaos Marines, he swept a lightning raid to the Lion's Gate spaceport, catching the traitors at the port.
Jakatai Khan, right? I'm pretty sure that's the name of one of the Mongols, right? That's why I think that's how it's pronounced. Alright, so this is like, the Star Wars movie type of, that's what I'm imagining, the battles, massive scale battles, right? Every corner there's a fight, and they're fighting, defending. And the terrifying thing here is that Horus is basically the battle master, right? This is what he does. This is what he's good at. Orchestrating, being a general on the field, right? Where to attack, how to win battles. And he is in the, chaos side right now.
Completely off guard. They were able to secure it quickly and reactivate the orbital defences, which began immediately destroying all descending traitor drop pods and landing transports. In a single action, they had cut the reinforcements of the traitors in half and dealt a substantial blow. They also tried to secure the second main port known as the Eternity Wall, but were unsuccessful as the Chaos forces had now reinforced their positions. The battle at the main palace was not going well now either, and the Loyalists had been pushed back to the Eternity Gate, the sole point of entry into the inner sanctum of the Imperial Palace. The Marines, the Blood Angels and Imperial Fists were to hold back the attacking Chaos forces, while the remaining Loyalists made it through the gate to safety. Sanguinius, the Blood Angel's Primarch, would now face a terrifying prospect as he flew against a greater demon of Khorne, clashing together head-on as they battled in the air, flying above the mortal forces in a ferocious and blurring battle of godlike ability. Sanguinius would ultimately be victorious, breaking the demonic creature and throwing its shattered body to the howling heretics below. The Warp Gate project the Emperor had secretly been working on resided in this chamber, and it now risked becoming their undoing. Initially, it required only a small portion of the Emperor's psychic attention, but after the damage wrought by Magnus of the Thousand Suns in attempting to reach the Emperor, it subsequently was damaged so badly that it required a significantly higher proportion of the Emperor's powers to keep it closed. Combined with the fact that the forces of Chaos were fighting to use this portal, it became an immense burden to maintain it safely. The Emperor now called on Malcador the Sigillite, informing him that he was required to take his place on the psychic amplifier known as the Golden Throne. This provided the psychic shielding needed to protect the new human-built sections of the webway, which had been the Emperor's secret project and was intended to be the final gift to humanity before the Horus heresy had begun. The Emperor's original choice of his replacement on the artifact had been Magnus the Red, but now Malcador was the only legitimate successor, being one of the few human remaining psykers with enough strength to carry out the duty. In the final days of the siege, the Emperor ordered Malcador to summon 12 men of character, skill, and determination. These would be tested and trained to become an elite group of investigators intended to root out treachery across the Imperium and in the centuries to come to prevent any event like the Horus heresy from occurring again. This would become the earliest stirrings of the Inquisition and also later the highly secretive chapter known as the Grey Knights.
The Grey Knights.
The Emperor also told Malcador to steel himself as he would need to prepare to make an unbearable sacrifice. Malcador would return from his mission to recruit the foundation of the Inquisition. Using his powerful psychic subterfuge, Malcador and his new recruits were able to pass unscathed through the battle lines and come before the Emperor within the inner gates of the Imperial Palace. Malcador brought before the Emperor his 12 men to be judged for their suitability, and the Emperor saw that Malcador had chosen wisely. Of the 12, 4 were mortal lords and administrators of the Imperium, possessing an inquisitive nature and unyielding strength of mind. The other 8 were Space Marines, whose abilities were as peerless as their dedication to the Emperor. Some Marines were from legions that had abandoned the Emperor in favour of Horus's dark promises, but these battle brothers had never lost their staunch loyalty and had fought the heresy from within in many ways, and they were the truest expression of the Imperium and carried an even stronger will than their Lord Primarchs.
That is so good, right? I mean, the certain Primarchs went to the Chaos side. They were convinced by that, but obviously lots of the space when it would not feel like that, right? Like, okay, I get it. Our chapter is going towards Chaos' side, but I feel like I'm loyal to our Emperor. So this basically just proves that. So, during the Horus Heresy time, the situation was much complex, right? Extremely complex. It's just whenever there's kind of major scale coup happens somewhere basically in history, right? There's always this thing like who's the loyalist, who's gonna go where. Leaders change sides, but maybe they're leaders, I guess soldiers or whatever they are. Maybe they might be the loyal to the original emperor or whatever. There is always certain things like that. It's very complex. This is why during the Horus Heresy, entire Imperium got damaged so much because it eats itself from the inside, I guess. And this is just fucked up, but yeah.
Malcador the Sigillite ascended to the Golden Throne, replacing the Emperor who stood before his loyal captains, Rogel Dawn of the Imperial Fists and Sanguinius of the Blood Angels. Malcador could no longer physically speak, his mind consumed by the concentration he had to bring to bear in order to control the tempest of psychic forces consuming him. The Emperor directed the attention of the two Primarchs, the demigods of mankind, to look upon this mere mortal. Malcador, a powerful Psyker, but not an Astartes, not a Primarch, just a man. The Emperor declared to them, "Behold, the greatest sacrifice of our age. Malcador the Sigillite is no more. Henceforth he shall always and only ever be Malcador the hero." Malcador would only be able to withstand this psychic assault on him for a few hours. Powerful as he was but a fraction of the power of the Emperor, and his body, mind and soul would be consumed in a matter of hours. Malcador the Sigillite was a true hero of humanity, saving it from total destruction on numerous occasions, ultimately sacrificing himself for the will of his friend, the Emperor. After 55 days, the Siege of Terror had kept the enemy at the gates, but only just. Both sides knew the defeat of the Imperium was near, and all that was required was the defence or destruction of the Eternity Gate. Horus, knowing this, and that he must complete the siege before the arrival of the Loyalist reinforcements from the other Space Marine legions, prepared to teleport to the surface from his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit, to lead this final assault in person. The Wordbearer's first chaplain and prime traitor Erebus broke the news to Horus that their demonic allies in the Warp had informed them the Dark Angels and Spacewolf legions were now nearing Terra, and the vast force of Ultramarines were only a short distance away by now.
Yeah, this is so fucking interesting, right? Like, if Horus Heresy wouldn't have happened, the Imperium would have had a webway just like the Eldars have, right? They would have gone to that level of, I guess, empire. So I'm just, if Horus Heresy didn't happen, how much the Imperium would have gone, I guess, in just the means of technology, how high they would have gone. Would have they gone at the level of how Eldars were and then collapsed for certain reason? Would have they gone to the level of, say, I don't know, so godlike beings, right? The whole Imperium, humans, like, I don't know, the old ones, Catans, something like that. But yeah, the Horus Heresy basically thought of that, webway thing. And after that, Emperor's basically dead body is the only thing that keeps the warp open. That's the only thing you have. No webway, no nothing, I guess.
Hearing this news, Horus despaired. All seemed lost. He needed more time to break the most secure enclave of the Imperial Palace, and the massive Imperial reinforcements were only hours away. Horus decided on a dangerous gamble. Dropping the shields of his flagship, he opened the gateway for the Loyalists to board his vessel. The Emperor would not waste this opportunity and teleported aboard the Vengeful Spirit with his elite personal guard, the Legio Custodes. The Primarch Sanguinius and Rogel Dawn.
I was gonna say before, like, why Emperor is not engaging before, but I guess he was, sitting on the Golden Throne, keeping it open. Then Malcador basically took that, so Emperor was more free to engage. So now he's gonna attack the ship and go attack Horus directly.
Several companies of Imperial Fists and Blood Angels, veteran Marines in the assault. Finding themselves though scattered now throughout the ship, they fought a series of close-quarter battles against hardened Chaos Marines to reach the bridge of the ship and Horus. Sanguinius, the Blood Angel's Primarch, reached his brother Horus first, and the Warmaster attempted to turn his previously oldest and closest friend among the other Primarchs to Chaos one last time. When Sanguinius refused to be corrupted, Horus attacked. Wounded from his many battles on Terra and the battle with the greater Daemon, Sanguinius proved to be easily no match for Horus, who was now at the peak of his demonic power, bearing multiple marks of chaos. Horus strangled to death the angel with cruel ease. An alternate version of this event recorded in the Imperial records has Sanguinius cutting a small hole in Horus's Terminator armour before he died. This chink in the armour would aid in the Emperor's battle against Horus. When the Emperor entered the bridge, he saw the winged corpse of the angelic Sanguinius lying at Horus's feet. Horus engaged the Emperor, calling him foolish for refusing the power that Chaos offered. Horus proclaimed that if the Emperor would kneel before him, he would spare his life. The Emperor knew well the ancient trap that had snared Horus, and the Emperor told the corrupted Primarch that he was the deluded slave of Chaos, not its master, for no mortal could ever truly claim to be more than a simple pawn of the ruinous powers.
Yeah, obviously.
Snarling with frustration, Horus hurled bolts of demonic lightning at the Emperor, who nullified them before they touched him. The Emperor and Horus would engage one another in the throne room of the massive battle barge, a combat of both physical skill and psychic force in nature. The Emperor was unquestionably the most skilled and powerful warrior, but his love for his sons could not bring himself to bear his full strength against Horus, his first son. The Emperor would deflect multiple barrages with his lightning claw, but Horus was possessed, relentless, and sliced open the Emperor's chest armour. He then proceeded to sever the tendons in the right wrist, disarming the Emperor. An enraged psychic blast from the Warmaster seared the flesh from the Emperor's face, destroying one of his eyes, tearing the broken Emperor's right arm from his socket. Horus raised his father's broken ragdoll body high over his head to throw him down, breaking his body. The vicious and casual brutality of the Warmaster's act galvanized the now broken Emperor as he awoke to what awaited mankind under the rule of Horus and the Chaos Gods. Realizing at last that his favoured son was wholly lost to the corruption of Chaos, the Emperor gathered his full psychic power, bringing it through his body and into the Imperium, unleashing a lance of pure energy that pierced the gloating Horus's psychic defences. The Emperor, in a white-hot rage, pierced his very being with psychic power. Before Horus died, the Chaos powers would abandon him, and as he looked his father in the eye, shedding a single tear, realizing his unforgivable betrayal, begging his father to forgive him. The Emperor saw regret in his fallen son's eyes, but the Emperor also knew that the Dark Gods could attempt to possess Horus again, and that this time he would not be there to stop them if they did. Forcing all compassion from his mind for the sake of humanity, the Emperor tore his soul apart, not banishing or casting it to some dark realm, but erasing it from reality, destroying Horus utterly.
I didn't know you could do that. I mean, in this, I guess Emperor has that power, apparently. You can literally erase the soul, apparently. So it doesn't go back to the chaos or warp, whatever. Damn, this was epic. So this is why, Emperor got fucked up. I always ask this question, why the fuck did Emperor got so fucked up fighting Horus? And some people told me the Horus was aided by chaos, this and that, but that still felt like Emperor is way too powerful, right? That's his whole deal. I guess now it makes sense. That Emperor was basically, had sentimental things, like, okay, my son Horus is not this, basically chaos corrupted him. Should I, deal fatal blow or not? There was conflicts in there. I guess that gave Horus the power to basically tear down Emperor. Is the face that we see now on those photos. Horus basically attacked him like that. Then Emperor realized like there is no hope, and if I don't stop him now, and then fucking massive psychic power and killed him. I like how Chaos Gods like, oh fuck that. Before Emperor can strike with a psychic lance, all the Chaos Gods just fucked off like, oh, I don't want to touch this. This basically tells you the Emperor was way too powerful, right? Even Chaos Guards runs away. This is why Chaos attacked Imperium in the first place. Emperor got way too powerful.
His essence burned from existence in both the physical world and the Immaterium, so that Chaos could not resurrect Horus, their claim on his soul a bitter blow to the Dark Gods, who would scream a terrible psychic scream in their rage and frustration. The destruction of Horus' soul sent a psychic shockwave surging across the solar system, casting the demons of chaos back into the warp, and spreading a mass panic among the traitor legions and other traitor forces on the surface of Terra, who felt in fractions of seconds the weakening power and loss of the chaos mark upon them. It became clear to the traitors their leader had been defeated. In this moment, a terrible berserker fury, later to become known as the Black Rage, encompassed the Blood Angels. From the moment of their Primarch Sanguinius' death, they went out surging forth to scatter the attackers, slashing in all directions, howling vengeance upon them. The already retreating traitor legions ran for their lives, screaming in terror from the frenzied Blood Angels. A screaming retreat soon turned to an apocalyptic bloodbath. Thousands upon thousands of Chaos Space Marines, as well as the Chaos Titans, fell attempting to flee. Any who fell behind were obliterated by the Blood Angels. Many of them would be later found still wandering around in an insane rage, smashing the broken Chaos Space Marines to pieces with apparently little conscience, thought or control. The ground before the Imperial Palaces was now awash with blood of traitors and heretics. Meanwhile, the Imperial Fist's Primarch Rogel Dawn finally found his way to the corrupted Starship's bridge, only to discover his brother Sanguinius and the shattered and broken body of the Emperor, who was now, despite his near immortal powers, on the very real verge of death. His remaining psychic energy spent in the defense of the Golden Throne and subsequent battle with Horus. The Emperor whispered instructions to Dawn, ordering him to transport him to the device known as the Golden Throne in the inner sanctum of the Imperial Palace. If there was any chance to save the Emperor's life, Dawn would of course do so, without question. Returning to the Golden Throne Room deep in the Imperial Palace, Dawn and the frail body of the Emperor arrived just as Malcador was beginning to fail. His body had been consumed by the immeasurably powerful psychic storms that were now visibly lashing his body. As the tech priests hastily adapted the throne to be able to support the Emperor, Malcador was disconnected. Within minutes of this though, his husk of a body would turn to dust, blowing across the stone floor. But not before he reached out with the very last of his life energy and transferred it to the Emperor, giving him that last injection of power needed to survive for the moments until he could be transferred to the Golden Throne.
Damn, man.
This last act of Malcador was another blessing from the Sigillite, as the Imperial attendants would come to the realization that they could do this many times over, and so began the almost endless task of locating and bringing Psykers to Holy Terra, to have the honour of being sacrificed and transferred their energy to the Emperor to keep his spirit alive, and also to keep the door of the raging Imperial webway shut. This last energy from Malcador would allow the Emperor to speak his final commands, to continue the fight to free humanity from the forces of chaos, as well as the ignorance that continued to assail it. At these final words he would be silent, his body now entombed within the mechanisms of the Golden Throne, his body shattered but his spirit remaining forever strong. He would command the Imperium through his psychic hints and emanations, interpreted and carried out by the High Lords of Terror. Far from a broken shell, the Emperor would continue to support the Imperium, protecting them by shielding the webway, keeping the beacon of light, the Astronomicon used by Imperial navigators, shining in the darkness, and some say the Emperor still now battles the forces of chaos on their own plane of existence, keeping the worst and most insidious demons from entering the material world or infecting the minds of suggestible men.
Okay, is that even possible? Is Emperor doing that? Because they need to sacrifice thousands of souls every day just to keep the warp open. Does the Emperor have that level of power left to push back the chaos, right? I don't know.
Humanity had survived the darkest time, but at what cost? Hundreds of worlds stood destroyed or still now infected by the insanity of chaos. Half the Imperial forces had turned traitor and now began to retreat into the dark depths of the galaxy or the Eye of Terror itself. Many previously prosperous worlds were now considered unsavable, and consequently Imperial fleets would arrive to perform exterminatus on these damned worlds, destroying all life on the planet, reducing it to an orbiting rock. The Imperium itself, despite the Emperor's best wishes, would struggle to maintain the sense of bright order once enjoyed during the Crusades. Now it would enter a difficult period, in many ways not too far removed from the 21st century, where states of repression and ignorance were often widespread and caused many of the problems they would face.
21st century, okay.
The Imperium operated on a new level of suppression of its citizens, and in many ways it's hard to really find fault with this rationale. Given the severe blow to their military power, the Lords of Terror and remaining Primarchs needed to hold everything together amidst a crumbling empire. A still angry and battling traitor force who were still present throughout the galaxy and Imperial systems. Worse still was that the Xenos forces such as the Orc, Eldar and later Tyranids would seize on this opportunity to exploit humanity in its weakened state and would descend to ravage Imperial worlds that were unable to be successfully defended during this time. Despite all this, the Imperium of Man would stand strong, and whilst far from the perfect empire the Emperor had sought to create, it would still represent humanity's best hope for survival. They were not cut off and isolated as they had been during the Age of Strife, and in some respects would regain much of their strength in the coming 10,000 years.
Alright, goddamn. That was such a great part of it. The war. Malcador, the hero, he literally gave his life so Emperor could defeat the chaos. That's what happened there, right? Yeah, he sat on the throne that he can't handle, right? He's not strong enough, but he still did, while getting tortured by the throne, slowly dying and still holding out, while Emperor could basically defeat Horus. And during the battle, Emperor was having hard time fighting Horus, so that's why Horus basically using his chaos mind and immense power now, immense psychic power, just ripped the flesh from Emperor's body, I guess, eye socket and everything. That is just fucking terrifying. Because Emperor still had empathy for his son, that his son is corrupted by chaos, and that's the issue. But later on, obviously, he used his power to defeat Horus, and erased him, apparently. He doesn't even exist anymore, not even in the warp. So erased him, and then finally, he got, put on the golden throne to basically keep the warp open, right? To keep humanity going on. So where humanity should have stopped because of what happened in the last instance, things like Emperor killing Horus at the last moment while barely being alive, Malcador keeping the throne and the warp going on at the point, right? And even in the end when the I guess transition was happening, where Emperor was was in the process of sitting on the throne, Malcador gave his last life to the Emperor just so he can stay alive long enough to put him on the throne. So Malcador hero up until the end. That is fucking awesome. So yeah. Damn. Alright people, that's it for now. I will pick up chapter 9 I guess tomorrow. The Great Soaring and Reformation. I guess that now dark times are coming, right? Because after this, it's just everything's just dark after this, I guess. Yeah, Emperor is done. I guess everything is, and now the Xenos races are also picking off. I've said this many times in lots of historical videos that when your empire is going great, it's going great. As soon as it hits a hurdle, everybody sees the weakness and try to capitalize on it. So that's what would happen, I guess, with the orcs and Tyranids and things like that. Alright, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards, check out the ink cards. Follow me on Twitter. There I'll be tweeting every time I upload a new video. And yeah, I'll see you next time.